The first time I realized my headphones weren't actually playing music, I was standing frozen in our hallway at 11 at night, holding a glass of water I never drank, listening to Priya Malhotra whisper my name like it was a confession she didn't want to survive. I'm Daniel Foster, 30 years old, a sound engineer who mixes podcasts for a living, which means I spend most of my day convinced I can hear things other people can't. Usually that means catching a hum in someone's audio track. That night it meant catching my roommate's voice through a wall, saying my name like a secret she'd been keeping in her chest for months. Priya and I had been living together for a year. She was 28, a physical therapist with a laugh that came out before she gave herself permission for it, and the kind of patience that let her talk down injured athletes and one extremely dramatic landlord. She also had a habit of seeing me wearing my big studio headphones around the apartment and assuming I was somewhere else entirely. Lost in a mix, deaf to the world, safe to talk about anything she wanted, as long as the door was mostly closed and I was mostly plugged in. That night, the headphones were around my neck. Not on. I'd taken a call from a client 20 minutes earlier and forgotten to put them back over my ears, which is the kind of detail that changes a life if you let it. I was getting water in the kitchen when I heard her on the phone in her room, voice low, the particular low that means someone thinks no one is listening. I don't know how to tell him, she said. He probably doesn't even. Okay, yes, fine. I like him. I like Daniel. There. Are you happy? I did not breathe. I have trained my ears professionally to catch the smallest imperfection in a track, and right then, my own heartbeat became the loudest, most poorly mixed sound I had ever recorded. It's stupid, she went on. He wears those headphones like armor. I talk to him through a door because it's easier than talking to him face to face. I've basically been narrating my feelings to a man who can't hear me. That's not pathetic. That's efficient. I should have walked away. That would have been decent, mature, roommate agreement approved. Instead, I stood in the kitchen with a glass of water sweating in my hand, listening to a woman I had been quietly, stupidly into for the better part of a year finally say the thing out loud. Because here's what I hadn't told her. The headphones weren't always on. Sometimes they were just a costume. Sometimes I left them around my neck on purpose, because being a man who couldn't hear was easier than being a man who heard everything and didn't know what to do with it. The next morning, Priya came into the kitchen in an old college hoodie, hair piled badly on her head, and found me already at the counter, very deliberately not wearing headphones. "You're naked," she said, then winced. "I mean, ears, bare ears. You know what I mean?" "I know what you mean," I said. "I decided to retire the armor," she blinked. "The what?" "Nothing." I slid her a mug of coffee. The one with the chip on the handle she always claimed gave it character. "Sleep okay?" "Fine." She wrapped both hands around the mug like it owed her something. "You seem weird." "I'm always weird. You've just never had unobstructed access to it." That got a small laugh out of her, the kind that snuck past her guard. She didn't know yet that I was holding her confession in my chest like a lit match, deciding whether to blow it out or let the whole apartment catch fire. I waited 3 days. 3 days of normal grocery runs, normal arguments about whose turn it was to take out recycling, normal nights on the couch with our shoulders almost touching, and me wondering if she could feel my pulse through 3 inches of air. 3 days of her talking a little too carefully whenever I had headphones nearby, like she was testing whether the armor was back on. On the 4th night, I sat down next to her on the couch, took the remote out of her hand without asking, and turned off the show she wasn't actually watching. "Priya," I said, "I need to tell you something, and I need you to know I'm not wearing headphones right now. I haven't been since Tuesday." Her face did something complicated. "Okay, that's a strange opener. Tuesday night," I said carefully. "I came out for water. I had them around my neck. Not on." I watched the exact moment it landed. Her whole face went pale, then red. Then she covered it with both hands like she could physically stuff the memory back where it came from. "Oh my God. Priya, no. No. You don't get to say my name gently right now. That's cheating." "I heard you," I said. Gently anyway. "I heard all of it." She peeked at me from behind her fingers. "All of it? The part where I called you a costume? Armor, technically. And, yes." She groaned into her palms. I have been narrating an entire emotional arc to a man with functioning ears for months. In fairness, I said, I've been wearing the headphones for the exact same reason you've been talking through the door. It was easier than saying it to your face. She lowered her hands slowly. Saying what? I reached over and laced my fingers loosely with hers on the couch cushion, giving her every chance to pull back. She didn't. That I've liked you since the week you moved in and rearranged my spice rack alphabetically out of spite. It wasn't spite. It was correct. It was chaos, and I loved it. My thumb moved once over her knuckles. I just didn't know how to say it without headphones between us. Her eyes went soft and a little wet. So what changed? You did, I said. Out loud. Without knowing I could hear you. That's the only version of the truth I trust. For a second, neither of us said anything. Then Priya leaned forward, slow enough that I could have stopped it, and pressed her forehead to mine. I really am going to throw your headphones out a window, she murmured. Worth it, I said, and kissed her before she could argue. Soft and certain, with absolutely nothing standing between us this time. Not a wall, not a door, not a pair of headphones pretending to be deaf to the best thing that had ever happened down the hall. What would you have done if you found out your roommate had been confessing their feelings to a closed door, thinking you couldn't hear a word? Have you ever overheard something you weren't supposed to that changed everything? Tell me your story in the comments. If you like this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next.